when we look at the recent news with him and the transition from the really bad battle he had with strep throat and different things like that, what was your instant reaction?
Yeah, there's an exciting grappling news that's gonna come out soon.
What's up, Jiu Jitsu fans? I am being joined by a very special guest. He is a Jiu Jitsu star who's been on the rise for quite some time now, winning the IBJJF World Championship in 2020 and 2021, and more recently being voted by the people as holding the submission of the year when he armbarred Cyborg at the ADCC World Championships. You might also know him as a guy that used his Jiu Jitsu skills to detain a burglar that broke into his car. It is none other than Haisam Rida, aka the Giraffe. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I want to start off with a very basic question. When did you get the nickname Giraffe, and what is the meaning behind it?
I started jiu-jitsu, training jiu-jitsu in Japan. That's where I got into until I started in a small city in Kanagawa, Japan. That was a little outside of Tokyo, but later on moved to Tokyo just trying to move on to bigger schools, bigger opportunities. So I moved to Tokyo to join Carpe Diem. So while I was there, my head coach at the time, Yuki Ishikawa, he gave me the nickname, the Giraffe. So initially I thought it was because of my height, which it kind of helps with that, but there was a deeper meaning to it. And he was like, yeah, the giraffe kills lions. I reached out to him like, man, why the giraffe? I don't know if I like the nickname the giraffe. So he was like, hey, so he sent me a text like, yeah, giraffe kills lions, and like giraffes are usually very humble until they are tempted, until you try to take something from them, and then they are very, very deadly. So and that kind of became like a character for me. So it's very easy to separate Haisam from the giraffe. So yeah.
I love it. I've never been to Japan before, but I had a few coworkers travel there for the first time, and they said that they were so overwhelmed with how nice people were there. And it's not that people in America aren't nice, but like just the level of people just being so courteous and wanting to be friendly with you is on another level in Japan. Do you
Yeah.
second that, or do you have a
Yeah.
different take on how it was?
That's definitely true. And Japan is a very, very, everybody's very polite, looking to help in hand, and like, just nice in general, and yeah, so definitely that's the truth of that, and compared to America, most people are like, all by themselves, or like it's me first. In Japan, there's this where like omotenashi is like looking out for the other, very considerate and all that stuff. So yeah, that's definitely very true.
I absolutely love that. And when you moved to Japan, you weren't by yourself. You had some of your family with you that traveled from Ghana.
Yeah, so initially my dad was there first. My mom would go back and forth to see him, and I was 15 at the time, so they were there first for like a year or two, and we decided to join them when I was 15, me and my brothers. So yeah, um, the move happened after junior high school in Ghana. That's a middle school, and we usually have this like 6 month break in between before getting into high school, And while I was waiting, it was initially a vacation thing, like to go to Japan for like a couple of months, then come back to Ghana, then go back to school, type of thing. But as soon as I got there, the plans changed. My dad was like, "Nah, I just want you two guys to be around. I want to witness the growth, because most of the time he was away for work and all that stuff." So yeah, that's how it happened. So we decided to stay. I ended up going to high school there, got into jiu-jitsu, and yeah, the rest is history.
So cool. And when you were in Ghana, you kind of were more into the ball sports like football, soccer, and
Exactly.
basketball, and then you transitioned more into jujitsu and just fell in love with it. So is basketball and soccer still stuff you kind of play every now and then, or is everything just focused on jujitsu?
Right now, I would say I'm more focused on jiu-jitsu. I still watch every once in a while, like the playoffs going on right now. I'm
Yes.
watching that. But right now it's like I'm too valuable to get injured doing stuff like that. So I try to stay away from that and just focus on jiu-jitsu right now. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up like playing soccer, like very high level. Everybody who knew me growing up, they're like all kind of surprised, like, man, how did you end up fighting? I'm like, yeah, it
You
was. I was
definitely are built for it. Huge guy. Like, how tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". Yeah, I definitely think that wingspan would work in basketball. But you're right, basketball is totally a sport where you can get some injuries. And so is jujitsu. I know you dislocated your nose at one point and
Yeah.
had different, I'm sure, minor injuries throughout your entire career. When you look at jujitsu as a sport that you're doing every single day, is that is one of the hardest parts about it the risk of injury, or do you think there are other things that are much more difficult about being a professional grappler?
Yeah, obviously, every sport, there's the risk of getting injured every time. That's like you trying to do a lot that I can to like prevent that. But some things are like out of your control, so just like wishing for the best. But yeah, it's most of the time, man. And I'll say that the injury part that's like is the hard part too. Is just like learning new stuff too, because it seems to like just growing every time. And then once you like getting used to one move, there's like a new leg lock that's coming out, like the Z locks and all that stuff. So trying to stay up on top of your game is like, I would say one of the hard part, but to me, it makes me feel like a white belt all the times. And, like moving to a place like B Team where they always try to stay ahead of the game. So, sometimes I just feel like a beginner again and just like learning new stuff. That's what got me into it, because when I started Jiu Jitsu, it was so like my size, my strength didn't really matter if I didn't know what I was doing. So to me, that part of like keeping up with the moves, keeping up with the techniques, are like the most hard part for me, but also it's the part that I enjoy the most. And yeah, of course, the injuries are gonna happen. I can do like weightlifting, stretching to try to prevent that, but at the end of the day, everything is like not in my control when it comes to that. But like the learning aspect too, that's the hard part.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're doing a lot of learning now over at B Team. I feel like this transition just kind of happened out of nowhere because before ADCC in the 2022 ADCC, you were still in Detroit with Assembly, correct?
I was in Detroit, Michigan with Assembly. Yeah, shout out to Assembly. I was there for 2 years. Yeah, we
And
had a
so
lot.
the way you say shout out to Assembly, it makes me feel like your switch to B Team, it didn't end in like a DDS type split. It was probably a very cordial leaving,
Yeah,
or how
it,
was that?
it was a very very cool way to obviously like saying goodbyes is always sad, but like David Garmo, me and him, we actually met in Tokyo. We worked together for a while. So what I was looking for opportunities to move out here, I reached out to him. He accepted me with open hands. So yeah, we're still on good terms, But sometimes to get to that next level, we both knew I had to make that switch. And yeah, it was on good terms, and we still talk to each other. Obviously when he's in Austin, he's gonna come train with me, and yeah. So it wasn't like a crazy DDS type of split. It's still a cool way, but I knew it was time to make a move.
I'm definitely glad to hear that. I know some of your background was really heavy into the gi. So I think that maybe one of the things that you could be looking to learn a lot from B Team is that leg lock game. What has
Yeah.
been some of the teachings that you have been picking up on? And is the leg lock something that you're really focused on learning how to defend, like, and making that part of your
But yeah,
game?
sure, for sure. I mean, if you've been following my career, I think it's very obvious that the leg lock aspect has been my weakness, especially coming from the gi. It's been very hard to try and adjust to it. But yeah, I'm not gonna give up a lot. But just moving here, working with guys like Nick Ryan, he's just a genius, man, and Nicky Ryan, Craig Jones. Now that he's back, me and him are training every morning. He's teaching me all the techniques, all the drills that I need to do, and just hiding my heels, man. And it's one of the main reasons why I decided to make the move, to beat him. I just needed to get to my weakness. What they say, you gotta face your weakness to get better at it. And everybody here, they're just really good at it. And I think just by being around, that's gonna help me improve a lot. And actually, I've been working a lot this past couple, it's been a month, weeks now. And yeah, so heading into my next competition, I feel way more confident, more confident in that aspect than I've ever been. So yeah, I'm excited to put on the show.
That's awesome. And kudos to you for being able to really look at your game and see the weakness because sometimes people might be not in denial of what their weaknesses are, but they might just stick with the same routine. But if you're really trying to elevate your game, I think spending your mornings with Craig
Yeah,
Jones is so smart. What
yeah.
does a typical day look like for you training over there in Austin?
So we have our 8 a.m. session, especially now that Craig is back. He's an early morning guy like myself. So we usually get together training 8 a.m. from 8 to like 9:30. Do a couple of drills, work on some other stuff, and then just get some rounds in. Especially now that we both in camp for the UFC grappling thing, we get to prepare for that. Take a little break, and then come back again. And then usually the noons are the hard part. That's where all the top guys are in there, like Nick Rod, Nick Ryan, Ethan, all this, all the other killers come to the noon class. We consider that the pro training, and yeah, we just go hard at that. So usually I just do that 2 sessions, and I'm dead by the day, And I usually in the evenings when I go do my lifting and all the other stuff.
Wow. So you save lifting for later in the day. Very interesting. And I think you
Yeah.
take a nap between the morning and afternoon sessions. That was
Oh,
when you noticed or someone told you that there was someone going in your car and looking for things that they could take. Can you just tell me what your initial reaction to that was?
yeah, so to just back up, sorry, obviously I train in between, so in between session I take a nap in the office, and it's funny because I was sleeping right in front, I was taking a nap right in front of the screen where all the security cameras are. You can see it on the screen, like the back door, like the front, even the mats and
Like a
everything.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. But I was taking a nap, and one of our guy, yeah, Gando, he usually comes in around, between before the noon session, So lucky, I was so lucky. At the end of the day, I'm just lucky I got my stuff back. But yeah, he walked in and he saw the guy opening in the back seat. Yeah, he took his time just gathering stuff. He was Pakistan. He had my fanny pack. I had a couple of rash guard in there. He took them, like my training short. Like, what were you gonna do with that? I didn't even know, but like, he had my shirts, everything. He was just grabbing. And so the guy was looking at him, and the way he was, like, man, he never see this guy before. So he rushed inside, and he woke me up like, yo, did you come to the gym with someone today? And I'm like, nah, it's just by myself. There's some guy in your car like going through stuff. So I just woke up right away, and then I look at the screen and I'm like, man, I don't know this guy. And he was already walking away, like, a little fast pace. So I just like, I just went from like a peaceful nap to like full rage right away, like, whoa. So I just took off, I just ran out the back door, and I just started to chase him down. It was impulse, obviously, I was in my head. I was thinking, what if he had a weapon and all that stuff? But like,
Yes. That's what
uh,
I was thinking. I was like, thank goodness not.
yeah, exactly. He didn't have that, but he looks like just like this homeless type of people and just not smart. If he had anything like that, he would have even known not to attack that parking lot. you know,
Oh my
but
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, I approached him, and as soon as he turned around, he saw me pursuing him. He just froze. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, this is your stuff. I'm gonna give them back to you." I'm like, "Man, it's too late for sorry." So I just, and obviously, also in my head, I was like just trying to make sure he didn't have anything on him. So before he could reach or do anything, I just reached and grabbed his hands. Just to be in control of the situation, to make sure he couldn't reach for anything or like that. So I dragged him as hard as I could, hit him with the meanest foot sweep to the ground. But then I realized he had nothing on him. He had a bag on him. I'm sure it's other people's stuff that he stole, because it was a lady's purse. There's no way a guy is walking around with a lady's purse. So I'm like, man, you. So I knew he's just a loser taking people's stuff. And he met the wrong person. And yeah, I foot swept him to the ground. He kept trying to run away. Oh, please, I don't want to go to jail. Let me go. I'm like, bro, it's too late. I'm not gonna allow you to just walk away. And so
Yeah. And
just to
continue doing it.
yeah, exactly. And just to get in more control, I was behind him. I chucked him unconscious a little bit, and I got a knee on belly and just like held him down. My other friend who was with me, and he was calling the cops, and the cops were on their way. And there was a couple of guys in the gym too, like drilling at the time, and everybody just ran out. And I'm sure he was thinking, man, what the fuck did I get myself into? Excuse my French, I'm not allowed, but
No, you're allowed to cuss.
Yeah, he was probably thinking, "Oh shit, this is a bad day," you know. And yeah, it was just a bunch of tough guys surrounded around him, and then me on top of him, just like trying to keep him control. And as soon as the cops showed up, he just tried to play it dead, like, "Oh," I tried to make it look worse than it was. You know, I understand it was terrifying. If a guy like myself was like running after you, you probably will be you're probably gonna freeze too. But yeah, yeah, you don't do shit like that, you know. And so the cops came. They asked my stuff, and then I didn't touch all my stuff. Everything was still on the ground, just for witness, for evidence, I'll say. And they went through everything. I wrote my report, and like in the end of the day, I was in right. Also, the Texas law is like I was right to like protect my property, and he was 100% in the wrong. And also in general, he had like over 10K of my property, because one of the Ricky Kobe cars that I had from a present as one person, this like that will sell for like at least 7K right now, you know. And he had that. My passport, I could say like my passport is what it could be priceless, because obviously I travel a lot, and that could have cost me a lot, and so that's already a felony over a 10K. So yeah, it was a
That's
bad day for him.
absolutely
And
insane.
I was in the end of the day again, man. Like I just feel lucky that he didn't get away with my stuff, because I imagine he took off. Like, what were you gonna do with the passport? He probably was gonna throw it away somewhere, and I was just gonna have to suffer through to get it back and all that stuff, So, yeah, I'm just happy, and I learned my lesson too, not to ever leave my car unlocked. But also, just I just went with Craig Jones in the morning. Sometimes your brain is not thinking fast. I'm just tired. I want to get my nap before the next session, so yeah, that's not an excuse. So I might have forgot to press the button to lock my car, but yeah, you still don't go through. And that's why if you watch the footages, he was going. Craig Jones parked his car in the back. One of our guys said he was opening every door, to try to see if someone forgot to lock their car, and I was that one person who forgot to lock. So he was.
Wow.
As Craig Jones, he tried to open it. That was locked. He went to mine, and then he was in luck, but not for long. So that's what happened.
Wow. Well, he seems like a serial thief that you just stopped. So thank goodness for that. Thank goodness that everything was okay and no one except for him got a little bit hurt. But that is just an absolutely insane story. And like did you ever experience anything like that in Detroit, or was this just one of the first times where you ever had like a
No,
street confrontation
actually,
like
this
that?
like this very. I've heard stories before, but like to experience that's true. And also, like in the end of the day, like I kind of have my guards down in some ways, because like growing up in Japan, my mentality. I don't know how many times I like lost my wallet and then found it with money in it. Everything that's exactly the way it is. So yeah, this is a different.
Are you a big UFC fan at all?
Yeah, I'm a huge UFC fan. I follow it a lot.
I was gonna make the comparison to Kevin Holland because he was just like stopping all this crime. Like when someone, I think there was like someone that had a gun, he stopped them in Houston. And I feel like if you get a few more stopping the bad guy moments, you could be the next Kevin Holland.
Hey, yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be actually ahead of the story. And also, who was that? Like Anthony Smith? Somebody broke into his house or something like that.
Anthony Smith had
Yeah,
a guy that he was a wrestler in high school too, and he was just on so many drugs when he broke in to Anthony Smith's house. Anthony, who was a freaking fighter, was having issues taking him down because he was so drugged up. And then John Jones too. It's like all these thieves just get bad
yeah.
luck and try to rob
Like,
the wrong guy.
man, come on, these guys, man, get a job or something. It's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh, that's crazy. And I do want to touch on the fact that he tried to take your passport because, being an international grappler and having to deal with all the issues with like visa struggles and being able to get your passport approved and all those different things. Do you have advice for maybe grapplers in Ghana who are looking to make their career big in the US one day? Because I feel like the US and maybe some other countries have the best opportunity to be a professional grappler. Do you have advice for them on how they could go about that process?
Oh man, it's
It's complicated.
complicated one, because I had to go through a lot to get there, like obviously being in Japan helped a lot, and getting on like international cards in I remember getting on Quintet in Japan. That's what like made me break through into the international scene. I got recognized by that, so that made it easier to apply for the visa, But up until that, it was much way harder to get it. So I would say just keep doing your thing, and that just keep working on your craft, and you never know what was the opportunity is gonna be. For me, it's like I had like a couple of rejections, like 5, 6 times, until I got on quintet. And quintet was I got on quintet 2 weeks notice. I went on. I was as a brown belt. I submitted like 4 black belts at the time, I'll say, and that's what gave me the recognition. So I'll say just stay ready, keep working, keep believing, because you never know where the opportunity is gonna come, where the opportunity is gonna show up. I was ready when the opportunity showed up, and that helped me made it this far. And obviously, uh, right now I'm more focused on my career, but like obviously one day I'm trying to make it to where I can bring more guys from Ghana to the States or something like that somehow. If I make it to the top level where I'm trusted more enough by the American government, and then we can make that happen.
That's a beautiful intention to have in this
Yeah.
sport. And I'm sure a lot of people are looking up to you as a role model, as inspiration. So, congratulations on all of that. When you came to the United States, are you just here now by yourself when you were originally in Detroit, or is all your family still in Tokyo? Are you the Lone Ranger here?
Right. So yeah, I just decided. So actually, it was when the COVID happened. 2020. I had my visa sitting down, and that's when I could finally travel to the state and back. But then the world kind of like slowed down, and I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. And Japan was very, very, very complicated. Like to do anything, like all gyms were closed. There were no competitions, nothing like that. So to me, it was more frustration. And I had a friend who was in Michigan, and I was like, yo, we got to make this happen. So I moved in 2020 November, and I decided to come out here and see what is out there. But it ended up paying good because, I made it on one of the biggest cards, like Who's Number One and all that stuff, and also made it to ADCC. So I would have never made it if I didn't take that risk. But
That's
yeah,
insane that you came in 2020, like out of all the years.
exactly, exactly, and but he ended up paying well because in 2020 it was kind of a little dry, so having the giraffe in the states was kind of like, whoa, who is this guy? So
And
but
you were discovered at IBJJF when you won like 6 of your matches. And I think that's
yeah,
when Flo took note of
yeah,
you.
yeah, that's right. So again, I think like 2 weeks after I got to the state, I competed in the American National IBJJF. Yeah, so that was a competition that was happening, and I just went and I won like 5 out of 6 and 5 by submission. So that's when like Flo was
Wow.
like, okay, who is this guy? He just break on the scene. So they invited me on their Who's Number One. I got a win, and then I got another win, and I think Mo. Mr. Moore recognized me, and it's like, yo, we might have a spot for you on ADCC. So it's a lot of stuff that went my way, but it all started by me taking that big risk, because yeah, there's it's all part of the journey, like you gotta sacrifice your family time, friends, and all that stuff. So I moved from Japan to America alone. Yeah, I have some family in New York, but for the most part I was mainly just training and then being with my guy David Garmo, and my family is still in Tokyo. And sometime this year, I might be going back. And there's a couple of stuff I can't really talk about, but there's some competition who are making a return. So I might be going back to get on those cards and to see the family too as well back in Tokyo. So yeah, there's an exciting grappling news that's gonna come out soon.
Oh my gosh. Well, we can't wait to hear it. I do want to touch on the relationship that you have with Mo because I know the whole passport issue or visa, it was making it difficult for you to compete at the trials.
Yeah.
What is the rules with that? Like, why was that an issue?
So to do the trials, I think in America they have the East Coast and the West Coast trial, and to be able to compete in either of that, you have to be an American national. You have to be a citizen, and for me, it's like the trials I could do was the one in Europe because I still have a Ghanaian passport. And
Mhm.
honestly, during the COVID, I just couldn't travel. And the type of visa I have right now is like I was stuck. I have to stay in the States. So I to me, it was more like frustration. And, just seeing the guy you just beat a week before winning the trials, you're like, man, that could have been me. So I reach out to more like, yo, hey, um, is there any way? Because I think they just finished the East Coast trials, and then the West Coast was the one supposed to be next in line. I'm like, is there any way I could do the West Coast trials? I know I'm not a citizen, but like, this is this and that. And he reached back and like, man, I understand your frustration, but I can allow you to do that because there's a lot of non-American citizens living in America right now who, if I allow you to do it, they all gonna say, hey, I want to do it too. And I kind of see where it's coming from. And then but also I was scheduled to fight on Who's Number One like a week or something from that. That was my fight against Elder Cruz, I think. And Elder Cruz was like, he took second place at the trials or something like that, and he's pretty known in the scene. And he said, oh, I got my eyes on you. If you can put on a great show, I might, I got my eyes on you. I didn't know what that meant, but to me, that fight was my trials. And I don't know if you saw that, but I had one of the craziest back take and like finished from the back, and I just put on the show. That's when that arm spread celebration started. I wanted the world to notice. And yeah, I think he was pretty impressed by that win. And yeah, a couple of months later, I got a spot on the plus 99. I would have preferably be on the minus 99 because I was competing on the 205. But hey, this is ADCC we're talking about. It comes by. It's like every athlete's dream. So I wasn't gonna pick and choose. Plus 99, let's make it happen. I'm in.
So, did you go into like a serious bulking plan as soon as you found that out? And how much time did you have to prepare?
Yeah, honestly, I think I found that in like ending of May last year, and the competition was in September.
Mhm.
So I had like 4 months to prepare, but it wasn't as easy
Wow.
as I thought. It wasn't as easy as I thought. I think I just gained like what 10 to 15 pounds more. So I was definitely the lightest in the division, that's for sure. And yeah, and there were some scary big looking guys, even though I had the height. And my first round was Cyborg. And actually going into that, we had a game plan. Obviously, I didn't want to go against Gordon first round. That would have been, but there was the guys that I knew if I had them first round, I definitely could have made something happen. Cyborg was one of them. Orlando Sanchez was one of them. A couple of guys that I knew I could have made a push. So when I drew Cyborg, I knew I had him. I knew I had him. And Cyborg has been black belt forever. Like, I've been watching this guy, and the funny thing is that spinning thing that he does, I've seen it before. And the night before, I just like, you know what? Let me just rewatch some. I think I was watching this fight against Victor Hugo, and at some point, Victor Hugo had a hand or something, and he did that spin into the takedown. Like, oh, okay, that was nice, but you know, and somehow he attempted that on me. I'm like, oh,
Yes. It was
so
so quick too. I was like,
yeah,
wow, your reaction time was on point.
I knew it. I knew something that was some of the tricks that he liked to do, and when everything aligned for you, and for me, it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna counter it, take him down. But the way I had the underhook very deep, I'm like, I might be able to get a finish. So I just switched and then took the arm. And he
And
ended up
God's
being,
submission of the year. Everyone loved it.
exactly, he ended up being like one of the craziest umber. And like the reaction, I remember how loud it started getting. When I got the underhook, I took him down. The crowd just kept getting louder and louder. And I had the arm, I was like, man, I can't disappoint these people. I gotta finish this. I gotta finish this. And yeah, everything I had in me, I took the arm out, man. And
Yeah. You
it
took
was
that arm home with you. And when you look at 2024 coming up, are you going to be in the same division or are you going to hope to be in the minus 99?
I know. I think right now I'm becoming more of like a more established heavyweight. I got time, so yeah, I'll like to be in the plus 99. That's for sure. And I'm coming after everybody.
Awesome. And I watched the interview that you had with Flow Grappling when you were headed into ADCC, the 2022 ADCC, and you were given a bunch of names. They talked about Cyborg, Gordon, and then they talked about Nicky Rod, who you actually sparred with a little bit before your WNO match. So
Yeah.
you kind of knew his game a little bit going in, and you still felt that you were a little bit faster than Nicky, but he's super wrestling based. Now that you're at B Team, what do you like? What are you getting out of that partnership that you have with him? Because you guys are around the same size, you're
Yeah,
able to, expose each other's weaknesses. So, what has that relationship been like?
yeah, definitely, man. Like Nicky Rod, I felt like we were meant to like come meet each other or like become training partners, because to me one thing I have as like as a heavyweight is my speed. I kill the heavyweight with my speed, and so far the only guy that can match my speed or sometimes outpace me is Nick Rod. But also the way he just mixes his loose passing with his like tight pass, like when it gets to the body lock, and let's be honest, right now he gets the best of me in practice, like for the most part, so yeah, he's definitely making me a better athlete, and I'm sure I take the fight at him, putting on the pace with him and like just pushing the pace coming at him after, and we're definitely making each other better, and yeah, it's only gonna get better, and not just strong, not just fast, not just like crazy athletic. He's very technical too, and he exposes me I a lot, and he forces me to like rethink a lot of stuff, and I think that's where the growth comes from. Obviously, yeah, right now we teammates, we discuss a lot of stuff, and we probably gonna be in the same division, but at the end of the day, we just helping each other get better. You know.
I definitely think that's a great relationship to have. I'm curious, when ADCC 2024 does come around, do they ever intentionally make it so that you don't have to face a teammate right away? Because I do remember like Josh Hinger and Ty Rotolo were like the first match up. So do you think that potentially, like, how do they decide the brackets?
I think we're probably gonna have to face each other in the second round. You know, when two teammates are in the same division, you go maybe on the same bracket, but like we might have to go against each other in the second round. So we'll see how things goes too. It's a long time till then, so we'll see.
Yes, you guys are going to completely evolve by then. You guys work so hard. It's truly not a surprise that the B Team YouTube page and the vlogs and the podcast that you guys have been doing just blow up, because you're not only really great athletes, but I think the biggest personalities, along with Daisy Fresh and some other big name gyms as well. But I really feel like the move to B Team for you is probably just the best moves in terms of not only training but
Yeah,
marketability. And the fact that they like you so much, I feel like speaks a lot about your personality, because they don't just accept everyone into that group. So what is it like having all those guys just say such great things about you? I saw the vlog that they put up. It's got to make you feel pretty
yeah.
special.
That's like really humbling, and something I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I didn't even know you felt that about me, but like, yeah, that was cool to see, but obviously, I visited last year October. I one of my friends, JB, really close. We met in Michigan. Like he moved to B Team. He joined B Team when they first started. He would tell me how good it is and great it is. I knew who all these guys were, but we never really knew each other. Obviously they knew my name through competition scene, but I didn't know how it was gonna go, but like it was like instant chemistry, like guys like Ethan, like Nicky Ryan, like all those guys. And excuse me, like I met them back in New York too, Nicky Ryan and all those guys, but it was never like too close. It's just like seeing each other say hi type of level. But
Yeah.
like the closer I got to them, and Craig Jones, he's a super funny guy, but also when it comes to work, he really put in the work and very open. Like, and I wouldn't say open because it's just like anybody else. It's just like I think there was a chemistry there, you know. And right there, also I got exposed in training. They exposed me a lot, and I was like, man, I don't think I can go back to what I'm used to. This is where I need to be to grow. So I reached out to him like, man, I would like to make a move here, but also, there's a lot behind the scenes that I had to take care of first before making the move. I wasn't just gonna leave everything. I had a lot of responsibility as assembly, so I wanted to make it the transition as smooth as possible. But also they took the time. They were very patient. They gave me the time to make sure everything was right before I make the move. So yeah, it means a lot, and even watching that video myself, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm happy to be here, and these guys can help me get to where I want to go to, and also I know I'm gonna be a good addition to the squad. So yeah, there's gonna be more exciting stuff moving forward. That's for sure.
Yes, it sounds like you're going to have a great year ahead of you. When you look back and reflect on your performance at ADCC, obviously the amazing submission of the year is a highlight. But when you look at your fight against Roosevelt, what were some of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, not to get too pumped after the first win. I'll say, yeah, I was like a little too excited, and honestly, too, there was a lot of stuff that it was more like psychologically, that went wrong, and with Roosevelt, is a fight that I rewatch. I knew if I pushed a little harder, I would have got the win. But also, I just felt the pressure, I felt the pressure, and I wasn't the same guy. That's the truth. I wasn't the same guy. So that's something I'm working on right now to try to just accept that I'm in that league right now and just learn how to step on people's throat and not holding back. And honestly, I felt like I held back after that first win, and that's what cost me.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you just learn from those moments. And it wasn't as if it was like a big loss anyway. I just feel like sometimes losing from points is hard because you could feel like you could have exploded in certain moments or went for certain things. But
Hmm.
again, getting the submission of the year is a big accolade in general and one that so many people are proud of. What was your parents' reaction when they found that, when they saw that submission?
Yeah, I'm super proud, man. Super proud. My first coach called me like, hey, you made to America and now you have the submission of the year. Coming from Ghana, this is not something that is very normal. I mean, jiu-jitsu doesn't even exist in Ghana yet, So for someone from Ghana to have a submission of the year, yeah, that's like very huge for me. And also it tells a lot about the fans, For me, to be honest, excuse me, to be honest, I was just happy to be nominated. I'm like, man, I'm in the same
Oh,
category as like all these guys, like for the submission of the year. And when I found out, I think my roommate in Michigan was like, "Yo, did you see that you're nominated for submission of the year?" Because I didn't even think I was gonna select it, to be honest. So when I got there, I was like, "Oh shit!" So I just posted on my line like, "Yo, people like, yeah, vote me for me." Like, by then I was like, "Man, probably Gordon's gonna get it. He's the most like, he's the king, obviously, and all the stuff." But then when Flo hit me up and told me I was the winner, like it was very very humbling. It was very very it says a lot of my fan base and like how what the people thought about me, and it was huge, man. It's a huge accomplishment for me, and this is just the beginning in the end of the day, and I'm looking forward to creating more moments like that, and that's what I do. That's what I do. I think I put on some of the most exciting performances, and I'm one of the best guys catching submissions off of scrambles and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff lined up this year, and I took my time off a little bit. I took a little time off of competing, trying to make a lot of changes, working on weakness and all that stuff. And now I'm excited to get back to it.
I think it's funny that you counted yourself out a little bit when you saw that one of the other contestants for submission of the year was Gordon Ryan. I mean,
Yeah,
he obviously is looked at as King Ryan, and he
yeah.
rightfully so has worked very hard and has a lot of accolades to that. When we look at the recent news with him and the transition from the really bad battle he had with strep throat and different things like that, what was your instant reaction?
Yeah, I mean that's like I don't know, man. Like obviously he's dealing with some health issues right now, and I'm wishing him all the best. And I think he makes the sports better, so we need him back healthy, and we are gonna come after him. That's the show. That's the plan. So yeah, no big deal with that. Just wishing him the best.
Yeah, it's definitely very scary because he's only like what, 20, 27 years old. You never want to see someone go through health issues like that at such a
Yep.
young age.
Yeah. Hey, no comments on that, but yeah, wishing him the best.
Well, we cannot wait to see what you're going to be doing in the future. I mean, what a crazy rise to fame, and a lot of it I feel like is attributed to Flow Grappling giving you that initial opportunity with WNO to kind of get on the scene. So, is there any particular moment on your jiu-jitsu career that you're just so thankful for? I know you're thankful for all of it, but does one stand out in your mind?
I think taking the risk and making the move to the States in 2020, because most people were against it. Like, what? You're moving to Detroit, in the middle of a pandemic. nah, that's not a good idea. And sometimes it hurts when the people that you expect to support you no matter what are against it. But then I just followed my gut, and I think that making that move opened up a lot of things for me, because none of this would have been possible if I didn't make that move. So, in the end of the day, like, I'm very glad that I took the risk, and also shout out to Flow Grappling for giving me all the opportunities that they did. And also just like I took the opportunities and I make sure to put on the show and stamp my name in the jiu-jitsu scene. And yeah, that's what got me this far. And shout out to the fans too, man, for showing me love, because I wouldn't be getting the submission of the year without you guys voting for me. So thank you guys for real. And the giraffe show is only getting started. It's only gonna get better moving forward.
That's a beautiful story, how you came to the States and how you're making your name here. I feel like really going to be a fan favorite across the board. When you look at your future self, I know you're going to be an athlete for as long as you can do it. But after that, what is your ultimate goal? Do you want to open up your own gym? Do you see yourself completely changing paths and not being in martial arts at all? Where does Haisam Rida see himself after the jiu-jitsu world?
I think I'm gonna be around the jiu-jitsu world for a while. Obviously, make a return to Japan. I don't know when or exactly when yet, but that's like, I feel like that's where the roots has been from. That's where all the connections started, and obviously, going back and getting back into the business aspect of it. And but honestly too, I'm a very open book. I don't know what's gonna go, because it keeps changing, and I just keep going with the flow. So we'll see. Right now, I'm just focused on getting as best as I can, and if I can get really good, I think the rest will take care of itself. So
And we cannot wait to see when you're back in action. I know you have a lot of jujitsu news coming out. It's not officially made public, so I'll leave that as a cliffhanger for the fans. But if there's any sponsors, teammates, anything you want to give a shout out to before we close out the show, the floor is yours.
yeah, obviously shout out to my sponsor Hyperfly, for being in my corner all this while, and shout out to B Team and all the new training partners. Shout out to Assembly and all the guys there, like showing me love and all that stuff. The Giraffe Show, and the new fans, the old ones, the day ones, man. I appreciate you guys, and just stay tuned for the Giraffe Show. And actually, I'm making a return not July, sorry, June 29th. The UFC Fight Pass. I'm doing the 8-man bracket, so it should be a fun one. Stay tuned for that too as well.
Coming up super quick, June 29th. We cannot wait to see Haisam Rida back in action, the Giraffe Show, making all of the action happen on the jiu-jitsu mats and on the streets when you try to rob his car. Don't do that,
Hey,
people.
people, don't do that. Get a job, please.
We'll see you next time. And thank you so much, Hassam.